Good evening, everybody. Welcome here as we get ready for our fourth race of the season of the NNSCRA Pedrigree Xfinity Series. And of course, my dog decides at the very moment I start to record to begin barking. Anyway, we are here tonight for our first short track stop of the season, the 3/4 mile Memphis International Raceway. So far, we've had 3 races this season, 3 different types of tracks, 3 different winners. And so right now, 3 drivers would have 3 of the 8 playoff positions for drivers to get in via wins. Those previous 3 winners as well, Ryan Madden, Kyle Thomas, and last week's winner, Ashton Boyd, all inside the top 20 standings, so their wins would count currently towards playoff spots. Front row here tonight at Memphis is comprised of a couple of Richard Childress Racing teammates. Andrew Miller going to line up on the pole position. He comes into this race 35th in the point standing, so certainly looking to bounce back from what's been a pretty horrible trio of first races for him. Same can be said for his teammate J Figadarello, who lines up in second place. Figadarello comes into this one currently 38th in the point standings, average finish of 35th for his first 3 races. Then you got Emmanuel Hartnett, utilized fuel strategy to get a top 15 run last week at Road America, jumped up to 30th in the points as a result. Alongside of him, Kyle Keith coming into this one with 2 top 10s in the first 3 races, currently 8th in the point standings, so we'll see what he can do in his junior motorsports entry. Completion of your top 5 is Sean Gallighan. He's 14th in the points coming into this one for the RSS Racing team. Let's go down trackside, get those most famous words in motorsports.
Drivers, start your engines.
50 laps of racing here this evening, probably the first race this season where we will not really have to worry about fuel. These drivers will be able to make it the entire way, I'm pretty certain, without having to hit pit road. So as you see them rolling down the pit lanes, probably for a number of them, the only time they will be on the left side of the pit wall. Short track. So this race will probably be a quick one if we manage to go into a long green flag run, but being a short track as well, a lot of times you end up having wreck fests. Everybody's right up each other's gearboxes, everyone's in close proximity to each other, so they want to try double wide, 3 wide, 4 wide, question mark? I don't know, but we're going to find out just exactly what type of a race we're in for as the RCR teammates will lead us down. Andrew Miller on point into the restart zone. Green flag is in the air. Let's roll at Memphis. Andrew Miller out to the lead. Emmanuel Hartnett going to try and slot into second place. Battling with J Figadarello for that spot. Figadarello trying to hang on the top side. Going to have to give way, though, through 3 and 4, so move Hartnett to second. Gallighan now trying to get third place. Like we've established early on, the inside line is the fastest way around the racetrack. Figadarello started second. He's all the way back now. Looks like to 5th place as Skylar Perry trying to take 4th position away. Top 3 single file. Then it's this battle for 4th. Between Figadarello and Perry, you got Z Winkle side by side with Kyle Keith. That is for 6th. Anthony McCrury in that mix, along with Eli Bright. Eli Bright had a top 5 run last week, finished, I believe, was 4th place at Road America, and as a result, jumped up 10 spots in the standings to 21st coming into this one. Another driver that finished well last week and jumped up in the standings just outside the top 10, battling for 13th with Ryan Madden. That's Justin Dearborn. Finished second to Ashland Boyd last week and comes into this one 7th in the overall points. Back up towards the front. Battle might be heating up for the race lead. Emmanuel Hartnett all over the back bumper of Andrew Miller, trying to outbrake him there into turn 3, and he is on the back bumper of that next tier Camaro. So if Miller makes a mistake, Hartnett might be able to capitalize. For Hartnett, I think what he's got to do is he's got to get some straightaway speed either on the backstretch or the front stretch, get himself to the left rear quarter panel of Andrew Miller to be able to make a move. Let's drop back to our battle for 7th. Kyle Langeland making a pass on Eli Bright, so move him up into the 7th position as he now sets his sights on Z Winkle. Langeland last week dropped 14 spots in the standings, down to 31st in points coming into this one. as he'll now move into 6th, and he looks like he may be one of the fastest cars on track right now. He's picked up 2 spots in the last lap or so. So Langeland looks like he's moving his way through the field, cutting his way through the field. J Shelly just now getting around Eli Bright for 8th, now goes for 7th on Z Winkle. And there's Ryan Madden in the Leaf Filter Chevrolet, our season opening winner at Dragonette. Last week did not have a good qualifying result at Road America, and it resulted in a poor finish for him as well. Dropped him out of the points lead, now down to 11th in the standings coming into this one. But I think the goal for this team right now is just remain in the top 20 in points, so that way that Dragonette win counts towards a playoff position. Move back up to the front, the top 5, top 6 now you could basically throw a blanket over, as they are all nose to tail. I'm going to be interested to watch this 25 of Langeland. We saw him make some moves around Ryan Madden and Z Winkle. Now let's see what he does when he catches up to the back bumper of the 2 of Figadarello. Is he going to still be able to make some moves here to crack his way into the top 5? Looked like he got a good exit off turn 2. Will he look low here in 3? Ooh. Had to get hard on the brakes to avoid running into the back of the 2 car. Looks like his car rolls really well on entry and through the center. Gets good exit off. So we'll see what he can do with these guys up here as Hartnett continues to ride in the tire tracks of Andrew Miller, but I don't think he can wait that long. We've already knocked off 10 laps here. So this race is going by very quickly. These drivers have gotten themselves, for the most part, single file, at least up towards the front of the field. So I would think that you would want to start making moves now, if it really is that difficult, at least the front of the field to pass. Looking here at a battle between Corey Williams and Ashlyn Boyd. That is for 14th. Last week's winner, Ashlyn Boyd. Woo! Almost a little contact there between himself and Corey Williams. Corey coming into this one 36th in points, trying to bounce back after what's been a dismal start to his Pedrigree Xfinity Series season. Trent Dunham just ahead of him there as Corey drives it in deep. This is a battle here for 14th. That was actually a battle for 15th between the 51 and the 6. This is now for 14th place between Corey and Trent. Nicholas Romero right there as well in the 20 car, dead last in the points coming into this one. He's up inside the top 20. Just took the 15th position away from Trent Dunham. Further up, let's see if any battling's going on here, and currently not really. Andrew Miller's actually opened up a little bit of distance between himself and Emmanuel Hartnett. Hartnett was all over his back bumper. Now there's about half a car length of gap between himself and the 18. Hartnett, we mentioned, had a good run last week, jumped up to 30th in points. If he can get another good run, he could jump up even higher in the standings. And one thing that we should touch base on, as we just had a pass there for 4th place, J Figadarello getting around Skylar Perry. That opens up the door for Kyle Langeland, James Shelly, and others. So Skylar Perry might start falling back very quickly if he can't get back to the bottom of the racetrack. But the odds aren't really in favor of this, but if we have a multi-time winner this season, ooh, look at that, J Figadarello moving Sean Gallighan out of the way. Or if we have any of our drivers that win fall outside of the top 20 in the point standings, it is possible that we could have fewer than 8 drivers get in via wins. And if that is the case, then the question is, what happens to those remaining spots? Well, okay, let's speculate that only 6 drivers get into the playoffs via victories. Then 7th and 8th spots would actually go to the drivers 1st and 2nd in the standings. 9th and 10th spots would go to the drivers 3rd and 4th highest in the standings without a win. So these drivers up here, even though they may not necessarily be in the hunt for victories, they're still trying to have consistent seasons, because it is possible, it's not likely, but it is possible that we could have more than 2 drivers get into the playoffs via where they are in the point standings, having not yet gone to victory lane. Well, Figadarello started on the outside of the front row, faded back to around the 5th position. We saw the moves that he made right there around Skylar Perry and Sean Gallighan. He's now back up into the 3rd position, so we'll see what he can do now. James Shelly now getting around the 28. Skylar Perry trying to tuck in line. He'll finally find a position in front of Ryan Madden as Shelly just moved into the 6th spot. Shelly comes into this one 18th in points. Had a decent run last week at Road America. Picked up 8 spots in the standings. There's a couple of drivers up here towards the front that we're actually going to be seeing later on in the Duracell Cup Series. Running some races in the number 25 car out of Backmarker Motorsports, J Shelly. We're going to see him in the car for a couple of races. Sean Gallighan's going to be handling the road courses as he's now under fire from K Langeland. Langeland going to move up to 4th place. Gallighan going to try and tuck down in front of J Shelly here before they get to turn 1, but Shelly is there. Looks like Gallighan was not willing to chop off the 16's nose. This track is reminding me an awful lot of Bristol, the old Bristol, where you'd get kicked out of line to the high side and then you'd get freight trained. Obviously, the current Bristol does not have that, with the outside line, basically the line that all drivers try and utilize now. Skylar Perry driving by Sean Gallighan saying, "Hey, I feel your pain, buddy. I was trapped in that outside line not too long ago." Anthony McCrury has now cracked the top 10. Battling here with Ryan Madden, Kyle Keith, and Justin Dearborn. As a matter of fact, Dearborn, run down in the 11th position, has a big gap back to 12th place, which right now is Eli Bright. I don't know if something happened or what, but the field is really broken up into about 3 different packs. Meanwhile, back up at the front, top 4 have kind of broken away for the moment. Miller, Hartnett, Figadarello, and Langeland. We got a pretty good gap of about 2 to 3 car lengths back to J Shelly and Skylar Perry. Only thing I can think of is maybe the tires are starting to go away for these drivers, and might be some drivers slipping up, killing momentum of the drivers behind them. Saw the 2 cars slide up there in the corner. So yeah, I think the tire wear is definitely kicking in. Drivers are slipping and sliding around now, using a lot of brake into the corners. Probably wearing out the front tires. If the brakes don't start working and the tires are old, you find yourself sliding into the corner. And that might be why we're seeing some of these drivers kind of sliding up a little bit on corner entry. Last week, we saw a dominating performance from Ashlyn Boyd, led all 16 laps at Road America. So far, Andrew Miller has led the entire first 50% of this race. Now can he lead the second half? And here comes Langeland. I still think Langland's got the fastest car on the track. At least he's got the best car to be able to make moves, because he has fought his way now up into the top 3 as he's going to clear J.D. Figadarello, I believe. If not here on the front straightaway, then down to turn 1. He's got him cleared already. And he's going to go for second. Using that momentum, he'll get by Emmanuel Hartnett perhaps for second place. Langeland is flying around this racetrack. Another driver that's working his way up there is Kyle Keith in the 5. He's now moved into 7th. So it's definitely showing a race of comers and goers, drivers that were strong early on, and drivers that had their car set up for the long runs. And Langeland thought about going for the lead there. Could not quite pull the same move on Miller that he pulled on Hartnett the lap before, but he is there, and he has closed the gap up between himself and the 33. So Andrew Miller, who's been spending most of this race looking out his windshield, might have to start looking out his rearview mirror, as the battle is now on for 4th. J Shelly to the inside of Hartnett. Right now, looks like the 3 strongest cars on the long run are the 25 of Langeland, the 16 of Shelly, and the 5 of Kyle Keith, because they've been the ones making moves, working their way up here to the front. J.D. Figadarello cannot hold the bottom. He's running about a half groove off the rumble strips in the corners. And look at Langeland. Langeland's there. Is he going to make the move? Here he comes. Langeland for the race lead. First time today Miller's had a challenge, and I don't think he's going to be able to put up a fight. Kyle Langeland to the top of the leaderboard. Now if you're Langeland, can you start pulling away from 2nd and 3rd? Because the next car that might be on equal terms with you would be the 16 of J Shelly. So Langland's got to start gapping himself back from the 16 car, who still would have to get around Figadarello and Miller. Maybe we saw Skylar Perry fall back earlier because his car hadn't yet quite come in with the tire heat. He's holding court in that 5th position. After getting kicked to the high side, he worked his way back up there, so he might be another driver in the same lump with Langeland and Shelly and Kyle Keith, better on the long run. Langeland is beginning to gap himself back to the 33 of Andrew Miller. who may have used up his tires here in the early portions of this race. He's now under fire from teammate Figadarello, as Langeland last time by had about 4.5 tenths between himself and Miller. This time by, the gap is going to be increased by another 2 tenths. Langeland running a 23.9, Miller a 24.1. Did anybody else run in the 23s? At least up here at the front? Nope, everybody else is in the 24s. So that is why Langeland is pulling away. Battle here for the 6th position, I believe. No, sorry, 5th place. And Kyle Keith's going to take it. Justin Dearborn, after his runner-up finish last week, trying to continue on the consistency. He'll move to 6th. That drops Skylar Perry back to 7th. May lose that spot if Ryan Madden can make a move here into 3. And Madden will stick his foot into the door left open by Dearborn. So Skylar Perry, for the 2nd time, kicked up on that outside line, beginning to lose positions. Battle between teammates for 2nd. Figadarello to the inside of Andrew Miller. Figadarello able to hold the bottom, at least this time. Trying to make the move. James Shelly right there. Kyle Keith as well, waiting to see if they'll be able to get to the inside of the 33 for position. Figadarello clears for the spot. Miller ran wide in the corner. Shelly is there. Shelly is going to dive it low. Miller cannot go down and block, so now the battle for 3rd place is on. Let's see if Figadarello now getting around Andrew Miller, if he's going to be able to close in on Langeland. Boy, that was awfully interesting there. Kyle Keith looked like he might have thought about shooting the gap up the middle, as Shelly having a little bit of difficulty getting around Andrew Miller. Shelly finally would clear for the spot. Now Kyle Keith looking for 4th. Justin Dearborn right there as well, as the guy who started out in front beginning to fade back here in the closing stages of this race. Langeland opened up a 1.2 second lead back to J.D. Figadarello. Let's see if Figadarello's done anything to close that gap up. Much slower lap for Langeland. Ran a 24.2. But it looks like, the 25 and the 2 just ran identical lap times. They both ran 24.218s. Exact same lap times. Shelly was slower because he had to get around Andrew Miller, but we'll start to compare his lap times with the 2 and the 25. Same for Kyle Keith. That time by at the line, gap increased. Langeland at 24.174. Figadarello at 2.54. Shelly a 1.86, and Keith a 24.099. So out of the top 4, Kyle Keith had the fastest lap. Kyle Keith could certainly, I think, have time to get up here and challenge Langeland, but he's going to have to make quick work of Shelly and Figadarello. And still right now, tracked behind the Lilly Diabetes Ford Mustang is the Pilot Flying J Chevrolet Camaro. I looked back at an interesting statistic before coming into this race, but it looks like that statistic is going to be snapped. Only one driver has started out the first 3 races of the season, finishing inside the top 10. That's the points leader coming to this race, Ashlyn Boyd. Right now, the 6th car is nowhere to be seen towards the top 10, right now in the 13th position. So unless Ashlyn Boyd can pick up 3 spots here in the final 10.5 laps of this race, Ashlyn Boyd's streak of top 10s will be snapped. Boyd has 3 top 10s to start out the season. Only, I think, 3 drivers have 2 top 10s to start out the year. Diego Yepez, Justin Dearborn, and Kyle Keith. Looks like Dearborn and Keith right now are en route to get their 3rd top 10 finishes of the season. Diego Yepez is not up here near the front, though. As Langeland continues to chip away laps here, another 10th gained on Figadarello. Shelly right there, and Kyle Keith, actually, his lap time's starting to taper off, maybe because he's in the draft of the 16. That might be affecting the handling of his race car. Langeland ran a 24.3, Figadarello and Shelly 24.4s, and Keith a 24.5 that last time by. Be interesting to see where Kyle Langeland started this race from, because he fought his way. We were following him, fighting his way up from 7th place, and he worked his way all the way up to the front. That last time by, just about the same gap between himself and Figadarello. But Langeland's going to be a driver, if he does indeed close out this victory, that we're going to be keeping tabs on during the course of the rest of the regular season, because he came into this race 31st in points. It's early on in the season, so he could certainly jump up a number of spots in the standings. Don't know if it would necessarily push him up into the top 20 in points, but a driver that has struggled here at the beginning of the season, we'll have to see if he can basically use this win as momentum for the remainder of the season, stay up in the top 20 in points, and get himself a playoff position. Gap is now increased to over 2 seconds, and this time by 6 laps to go for the 25 car. That time by, he gained another 2/10. Figadarello might need to start worrying about hanging on to second place, because J Shelly and Kyle Keith are starting to close in on him. So this could be the best battle up at the front in the closing stage of this race between Figadarello, Shelly, and Keith. Miller still hanging on there in that 5th position, trying to at least just get a good points day after it was looking like he could have been one of the favorites to win after starting on the pole, but faded back late. Ryan Madden right there. Actually, Miller's in 4th. Madden's in the 5th position, now trying to take 4th place. And Anthony McCrury making a late appearance up here as he's in the 6th spot. And he'll now go for 5th place on the 11. Oh my goodness, are you kidding me? We got pit stops in the closing stages. I thought for absolute certain they were going to be able to make it on fuel, but we've got pit stops taking place here with 5 laps to go. Leader at the line was the 5 of Kyle Keith, and he's still staying out, at least this lap, and now he's coming to pit road this time. Ryan Madden's going to stay out and inherit the lead. It's going to be a fuel strategy race. I can't believe it. Is anybody going to risk it? Anybody going to stay out? Ryan Madden's already got a win. Will he try and go for 2 victories here this season? Quentin Moore in the 89 also stayed out. Quentin comes into this one 39th in points. Why not go for a Hail Mary? Oh, look out. He had to cut between Skylar Perry and Anthony McCurry to get to pit road. And Ryan Madden's in as well. Let's find our race leaders before the pit stops began, see where they're at. There's Miller, there's Hartnett, there's Shelly, Figadarello, there's Kyle Keith, and Kyle Langeland got out ahead of all of them. So it looks like Kyle Langeland could cycle back around as the leader. Actually, another driver stayed out. The 22 of Phil Parker, I think, stayed out. Is he still out? Yes, he is. Phil Parker stayed out in the 22. Contact ahead of him between Gallighan and Zoerlein. They're still making contact. Tempers flaring there as the white flag is displayed for Phil Parker in the 22. He has not pit yet. He's risking it. Phil came into this one 24th in points, dropped 14 spots in the standings last week, but looks like he could go to victory lane if he's got enough fuel to make it. How about that? A fuel strategy race. We didn't talk about Phil Parker all night long. He's going to come to the start-finish line and take the checkered flag here tonight at Memphis. Holy cow, and Anthony Lopez also stayed out. He'll finish in 2nd. Oh my goodness. First we were talking about Andrew Miller, then we were talking about Kyle Langeland, then from out of nowhere on a fuel strategy call, Phil Parker literally steals away the victory here tonight at Memphis. Oh my goodness, that was amazing. I love these races that take you by surprise. And Phil Parker, just outside the top 20 in points. This victory will put him into the top 20 in the standings. And did he just clinch himself a playoff spot? How about that? We thought it was Andrew Miller who was going to win as he was dominating the first half of the race. Then Kyle Langeland cut his way through the field, took the lead. It looked like it was his race to win. And then all of a sudden in the final 4 laps, drivers diving to pit road to top off the fuel tank. But Phil Parker must have been saving because he was able to make it and he takes the victory. Same for Anthony Lopez, who's going to bring it home in 2nd place. That's a great points day for Lopez, who came in 13th in the points. This will definitely move him up into the top 10 in the standings after this one. Langeland will have to settle for 3rd place with probably the strongest car on the long run this evening. And he comes up short by maybe about 2-3 laps on fuel. Kyle Keith will finish in 4th. That'll keep him in the top 10 in the standings. J Shelly in 5th. Figadarello 6th. Ryan Madden 7th. Andrew Miller dropped back to 8th. We saw Quentin Moore stay out a couple of laps. That gained him some track position to finish in 9th, and Emmanuel Hartnett completed the top 10. Then it was Skylar Perry 11th, Eli Bright 12th, Ashland Boyd will probably, I think, keep the points lead heading into next week, as none of his competitors finished anywhere around him. He'll finish in 13th, Nicholas Romero 14th, Nathan Stapleton 15th, and the rest of your top 20 were Anthony McCrury, Justin Dearborn, Sky Commons, Corey Williams, and Jonathan Zoerlein. Sean Gallighan was the last car to finish on the lead lap in 21st. Saw some contact between himself and Zoerlein there on that final lap. Got to wonder if something might culminate out of that. Everybody else finished a lap down as we cycled down through and show you the remainder of the finishing results. No cautions today. Ran the full 50 laps clean and green. And as a result, that's what I think really brought about those green flag pit stops at the end. Had we had a caution, probably wouldn't have had to worry about fuel. So that was very, very interesting. A couple of drivers that kind of stand out to me. You got Kyle Thomas, who won a couple weeks ago, finishing 24th. He was second in the points coming into this one, so not the run he was looking for. Diego Yepez, third in the standings coming into this. 33rd is where he finished. Daniel Voyles, didn't talk about him all day. He finished a lap down in 30th, fourth in the standings coming into this one. And Nathan Ormond was fifth in points coming into this race. He finished in 38th. Sixth in the standings was S Ozkan. He didn't finish much better. 34th for him. So Ashland Boyd, who finished 13th, even though it wasn't in the top 10, definitely going to continue to grow his points lead heading into next week. And then you look at a driver that started out the season so well, came up 1/100th short of picking up the victory against Ryan Madden, that being David Garcia. The following week at Pig Stadium, found himself upside down flipping over in turn 1. Following week at Road America, bad qualifying result resulted in a very poor performance in the finishing results, and here this evening finishes in 31st. So the wheels are falling off the momentum train for David Garcia, who came into this one 26th in the point standings. But that's going to do it here this evening. From Memphis, Phil Parker, fuel strategy gets him the victory, gets Penske their first win of the season, and now 2 wins for Chevy, 2 wins for Ford, back-to-back wins for Ford, as a matter of fact. Hope you guys enjoyed tonight's race here from Memphis. If you did, be sure to like, subscribe, become part of the crew today. We've shown you full finishing results. These are your point standings heading into next week's race. It is Emerson Fittipaldi Speedway, or as most people more commonly know it, Rio, is going to play host to our next race. Going to go speedway racing once again, and then you're going to want to tune into the race after that, because we're going to be going dirt track racing and road course racing at the same time. Riverside Rally Dirt is going to be our 6th venue. But be sure to tune in tomorrow as well. Duracell Cup Series action going to be coming to you, and then the following day we will see you guys at Rio Raceway. Until then, I've been Seth Cole. You've been watching a production of the NCRA Offline Race Net Best. Phil Parker on Fuel Strategy picks up the checker flag tonight at Memphis International.